Well, hello. Welcome, everyone. I am Nicole Thornton, your sales manager for the Cole Realty Group Atlanta. Make sure you're following me on Instagram at Your Real Estate Style Pro.
And hey guys, this is Naysha Clark, your coach and trainer for the Cole Realty Group Orlando. Make sure you follow me at the Right Realtor ATL FL.
Hey guys, this is Dedra Carter, sales trainer and mentor. Make sure you follow me, Dedra, the Premier Agent, on Instagram. Hi guys. I'm behaving this time.
You behaving today? Okay, you good today.
Guys, if you
right.
haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Closing the Gap. So just in case you're not able to make it on our Wednesday meetings, you can always scoot on over to YouTube, put in Closing the Gap, and see what you missed.
That's right. All right, stat highlights. April 2022, new under contract, March total sales, Zillow Squad sales, April agent of the month, and 2022 quarter one top performer. Are you ready? Let's get started. All
right. All right, April 2022, new under contract, Atlanta 5, new transactions, $1,683,990,000, guys. I mean, woo! Ridiculous. All right, so we got Nikisha Hilton, 2 under contract. Sharice Shepard, 1 under contract. Denisha Collington, 1 under contract. And Tamia Miller, 1 under contract. 2 of my new killers are in there. I love it. Killer kill.
Nice. Congratulations.
But I'm trying to figure something out.
What's that?
So we April 6th, and we got 1.6 million to April 6th.
Back that up, Josh. Back that up. Let us look at that one more time. Make sure them numbers right. Back it up.
There you go. Right there. Right there.
Wow.
1.6. Amazing. Amazing. Amazing.
Oh, so Talia said they just got one right now. Okay, Talia, you got to do get it in the broker sumo or wherever it needs to go so we can count yours. But thank you. In the next round, we got 2 more weeks.
That's right. Okay, next slide, Josh.
Uh-oh. Y'all.
Show out Orlando.
Y'all see Orlando? 4 new under contract. Alicia with 2, Latoya with 1, Sharonda with 1. $1.1 million. What
yes,
you
indeed.
mean? We coming.
Congratulations, guys. Congratulations.
Congratulations, guys. That is amazing.
I love it.
Congratulations, Coach.
Yes, indeed. Thanks. You know what I'm saying?
March total sales, Atlanta, 20 transactions closed for a whopping $6,190,868. Y'all need to give yourselves a round of applause. Got Dedra Carter, $1,325,000. Henry, come on now, 3 closes, $697,000. Sharice, all right, now 2 close, $560,250. Our very own Naysha Clark, 1 close at $550,000. Wanda, you better get in there, girl, at $244,000. Okay, Bree, we see you. 2 close, $412,000. Our very own Brandy Perry with 2 close, $639,940. Congratulations, everyone.
Yay.
And then March, we have, go ahead. You sure?
No, it is your turn. No.
You okay. March close, we have 1 with Alicia, squad leader of Orlando, $330,000, and Latoya, her very first deal closed with the Cole Realty Group. I'm so proud of her. Nice. $220,000. Yes.
Good job.
Congratulations. Good job. That's what's up.
I'm proud of you guys.
Yes.
So, is it on me? I think it's you, but anyway, still Zillow total closed sales. We got Brandy Squad. Woo, 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 woo. We got Brandy at $1,854,000. We got are we going to each person? Okay, so anyway, Nikisha Squad, we got $1,550,000 and $250,000, and we've got Charisma Squad over there killing them.
Y'all see it.
3,522,790,000. Show out, guys.
Y'all
Show
better
out.
do it. That is
Stinking numbers.
amazing. Just
Amazing.
that is awesome.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Agent of the month.
Josh, you gotta back that thing
Congratulations.
up.
You gotta see that one more time, Josh. We didn't get
One more
introduced.
time, Alicia. Alicia for the road. One time for Alicia for the road.
Congratulations, Alicia, agent of the month for Orlando.
All right, girl. Yay. Hey, girl. Hey.
Next slide. Oh, John, look at Henry, agent of the month. Go
Yes.
ahead,
Show out,
Henry.
Henry.
That's what I'm talking
Hear
about.
it clean,
baby.
ain't it? Hear it clean.
Hear it
Don't he hold no prisoners. Congratulations.
Oh, John, we got up on the camera now. Look at them. Look at them. Our very own coach and trainer, Dedra Carter. Yeah.
Did
Hey,
you choose your music? Did you
Huh?
choose your music?
No, they're channeling my energy. I see it coming. Because that is something I would play for sure. I don't know how they knew that. Congratulations,
man.
everybody. Good job.
Congratulations, guys.
Hard work. Quarter one already stomping with our big black boots on into the next quarter.
Let's
Hey,
go.
making it do what it do. Let's go.
Let's
So
go.
today, y'all, we got a treat for you talking about common pitfalls on contracts. Let's go.
All right, not filling in the contract completely. Guys, we got to talk about this simply because a lot of times we get in these rush situations and we are trying to get ourselves, over to the next phase or whatever that is and what we need to do. You have to make sure that these contracts are filled out properly. Never leave blank spaces. We are honest people and move with the highest degree of integrity, but you have to know everyone does not.
Right.
All right. So you also want to check every applicable box, and you also want to use a dash or enter NA if it doesn't apply. You have to make sure you take care of yourself. You also have your client that you are protecting as well. So if those two things line up and is on your mind when you're completing these purchase and sale agreements, your contracts, you want to make sure that you don't leave any room for anything to happen.
Right.
I
Right.
agree.
Any questions about that?
No questions. Like Dedra said, guys, those blanks, sometimes they're left up to the person that's interpreting it. So to make sure that you are protected and your client is protected,
Right.
NA or dashes.
Oh yeah, one other thing I do want to mention too, down at the bottom of the contract, and sometimes when you're looking at the listing, it will tell you, and the agent has to announce this if they're related to the seller, or if they are the seller, you want to make sure that information is also on the contract as well. They're going to ask you that with FHA loan, is it an arm's length contract? You have to make sure you disclose that that person is related to the person that is selling that property, if not them being the primary principal. You have to say that.
Next slide.
Not using the full legal name. This is really, really important, guys. A lot of times, our clients will send us over their nickname. Their legal name might be Matthew, and they're sending you over Matt. This will definitely result in issues down the line. You might have to do multiple addendum documents because the proper name was not used in the beginning. Difficulty in title work or needing to redo everything. If there's an appraisal, you would need to do an amendment on that. I'm sorry, I'm reading. I'm sorry, yeah, you need to have it amended. Do not use nicknames in no way, shape, or form. That is really important. Make sure that if you see John, you make sure his name ain't Jonathan. You know, you have to make sure that you are putting the correct full legal name on the contracts and not using any nicknames at all. Very, very important.
And also, guys, if your buyer uses a middle initial and the pre-approval has a middle initial, make sure it's on the contract. If you are representing the seller and it's a company, make sure that person has the right to sign the documents. You can find that information out under public records and real list and under FMLS. So like Naysha said, it's really important that you do your homework to eliminate any of the pitfalls we'll be discussing with you all today.
Right.
Next slide, Josh. Not using the full or correct address, avenue, street, circle, walk, point, you get it. Be 100% sure that you use the right one. Make sure the APN is correct, and don't let the transaction get to the closing table with an incorrect address, because you'll find yourself having to do an amendment simply because we didn't do our due diligence and our homework to ensure that all of the information on the contract is accurate.
And remember, guys, the APN is the tax parcel number that directly links you right back to the address. So for those of you that did not know what the APN is, that is what it is. You have to make sure that is correct. When you're filling out these purchase and sales agreements, make sure you're cross-referencing that information, because a lot of times that information is auto-populated into the forms. Just go ahead and just do your due diligence. Look back do your research, make sure that that is the correct APN, because if not, it's going to be issues down the line.
Thank you, Coach. Absolutely.
Relying on faxes and bad scanners. Contracts need to be legible. If you can't read it, it doesn't exist. Print it clearly, scan it clearly. If you must scan with your phone, go back to the first point. Save the environment, use paperless options. Guys, it's very important I know of that the contracts are making sense. A lot of scratch throughs and all of those things. Find out with the other agent and say, hey, listen, if we did a counter and it's a bunch of scratch throughs, you may even want to create a fresh offer.
Right.
With the right terms.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that many a times, that we did some cross throughs and said this is this, and everybody initialed off on it. However, that's not a clean contract. Sometimes you just want a clean contract. You also want to communicate with the other agent too, to make sure that, you know, all of their information, it may not transfer over, who they are, what their broker is, whatever that is. But you want to scan. I don't know that we do a lot of faxes anymore, but certainly your phone has an option to scan a document. I don't know if you know that. If you're out and about, you may want to add Team Android, Team iPhone, whatever that is. I know that I can, and I do an amazing job at scanning real quick when I'm on the road and I got to get a document to someone else. I don't like to keep a lot of paper. So the paperless option is keen for me, and because of Greg law, we have to keep up with these documents for at least 3 years, any transaction that you have. So make sure that, you know, you have a storage, a folder, you're keeping it electronic. If you ever got audited, you can put your hands on that information.
Next slide, Josh. Using per survey instead of the actual lot dimensions. Guys, this is really important because the buyer is relying on you and the information that you're presenting to them in the offer to make sure it's accurate. So understanding the property size based on the documents from the selling agent or the seller. The buyer creates the expectations for the property's use and future sales based on lot dimensions. So using per survey in the contract immediately negates these expectations, often leaving the buyer unsure about the exact dimensions. So use the legal description as an addendum or exhibit. And guys, please feel free to come off mute if you have any questions or place them in the chat. Y'all know this is very interactive and we want your feedback and your questions.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
It's Talia. Hi. We get a lot of corporate sellers and they don't have anything. they've never been to the house, anything else like that? How do we know exactly what this parcel of land is supposed, how do we find that information out? Do we need to go to the city, or is it something easier than that?
You can pull the information that's accessible under FMLS, the public records, and then go to Realist. And then you can also click on the tax ID number and go to the city or the county records to retrieve the information that's accessible. Good question. Make sense?
Yep, thank you.
You're welcome. Did you got anything you want to add on that?
No. No. Oh, so sometimes, guys, when you are looking on listings and the agent would be so kind to leave the description on in the documents, make sure you look at that and add it as an addendum on an exhibit. You always want to add whatever they have, and they have it there for a reason. It only protects you further, and it only protects your client if the legal description has already been included in the list of documents, and sometimes they do that.
And Henry also said, check the CRS data on Georgia MLS, and that will have the documents there as well. Thank you, Henry.
And it even have, sometimes your clients may ask, do you have, you know, the square footage, or you have this whole land survey? Do you know where the property lines? They have a boundary line on the actual, on CRS. I've seen that often. So you can supply them with that information about how, where the land sits and cuts off.
Next slide, Josh. On you, Dedra.
Oh, incorrect or unreasonable closing and contingency dates. Even though we're in a competitive environment, contingencies are in place to protect our clients. If you are shortening the contingency dates to be competitive, make sure the lender can meet the expectations. This is very, very important when it comes to being on target with what your client is doing. Sometimes your client is going to come with their own lender and you don't have that lender relationship with them. Get one. Immediately before you start writing these contracts, I always say, hey, listen, can I go ahead and get your pre-approval? I need to reach out to your lender because we are in a competitive market. I need to be able to write a contract and feel good about writing it. So it's important that your lender and I are on the same page. Our job is to get you to the closing table, and I need transparency on all ends. I've been transparent with you. You've been transparent with me, and I need them to also be that way. And that's the only way we're going to make sure we get through this without hiccups. Now, setting the expectations with your client, with the seller, and everybody is aware of what you're doing. I never pick up the phone, or I never write a contract without okaying it with my lender saying, hey, do you feel like this person can meet this deadline? You know, if I'm giving a 12-day financing contingency, or if I'm waiving it all together, because sometimes my client has already didn't get the other house. Now we got pushed off to a new house, and they've already went through the underwriting. All we need to do is identify the property. So we good to go for sure. They haven't done nothing crazy. I go over that several times. Don't do nothing. Don't buy nothing. Don't look at nothing. Don't even go in the store. You know how your mama tell you, don't touch nothing. Go in the store.
Don't put your hands on it.
Don't put your hands on it. Don't do nothing. So with that being said, we are responsible for the deadlines and the contingencies that we write. If you write a financing contingency and it's strong offer, your offer is not strong unless everything line up. And the last thing you want to do is to be at the end of the road and you can't meet the deadlines that you put in place.
Right.
Completely agree. And guys, Dedra said something that was like hit spot on. In this environment, making sure that you connect with the lender and possibly ensuring that they are completely underwritten. All the lender needs is a contract. In some instances, your lender might be, their lender may be okay with avoiding or eliminating that financing contingency. Sometimes might be in a situation where you increase your due diligence period a couple of days to ensure that that financing is completely underwritten, and you can still put 0 days in the financing contingency. But the key is just to make sure that you know your client is protected and you are in line with what the lender can do.
And then on top of that, it's also going to allow you definitely to be able to create, you know, an extremely competitive offer. You know, in a situation that I just had, I have with the client now, I got her pre-approval, you know, just like Dedra says, I never write an offer without communicating with the lender, without having a conversation with the lender, because the lender knows everything about the client. They know what they can do. They know how strong the loan is, right? And when I had a conversation with the lender, she was like, oh, Naysha, you can do the 0-day finance contingency, 0-day appraisal contingency, do a 7-day due diligence. I will have the appraisal back by then, and we can do a 14-day close. I was like, oh,
Yep.
oh.
Yep.
You talk about a strong offer, a strong offer, but you wouldn't know that if you don't take the time to have the conversation with the lender. Very important. Remember, real estate is a relationship based business. It's all about building relationships. You never know. You might find your next go-to lender by just having a quick conversation with, you know, your buyer's lender. So definitely, totally agree.
I agree. Boy, you said a mouthful then, Coach. I'm telling you, man, that's spot on, y'all. Definitely have those conversations, because like Naysha said, she was able to eliminate the financing and the appraisal contingency by just increasing the finance in a couple of days. A lot of times lenders don't know the tricks that we have and what we're using. So, you know, you can do that. To me, it says, I always attach the lender, buyer, seller's agent with all the important dates to remember. That way, everybody has it twice, and break down what everything means: due diligence, closing, earnest money deposit, etc. Great point. Thank you, Tamia.
Great point. I like that. I like that.
Coach, it's on you.
Incorrect or unreasonable closing and contingency dates. Keep in mind that mortgage underwriting and other associated processes can take several days to complete. Check calendar dates. Add the verbiage in your contract that if a contingency falls on a holiday or a weekend, the next business day is the expiration date. This protects your client. Check for holidays and weekends. This is so important. So many times we're writing contracts and we're thinking, okay, boom, 30-day close. Well, 30 days from April 30th is May 30th. You see what I'm saying? And you put that on there, not looking and checking the calendar to see if it fell on a Saturday or if it fell on a Sunday. The same thing with your due diligence dates. That's very important, because when it comes to your due diligence dates, if it falls on the weekend or if it falls on a holiday, how are you going to address that? You have to make sure you're looking at these the dates and you're looking at the calendar. And on top of that, it states that what I do when I write a contract, I always put in my contract on or before whatever that closing date is, right? So just in case I'm able to close before, you know what that means? I don't have to amend the contract. I don't have to do an amendment to change closing date. On or before April 10th is when we're going to close. You know, so just make sure you're adding your verbiage in your contracts. Make sure you are checking for holidays, checking for weekends before you, on all your dates on your finance contingency. Because what you're going to do if you have a finance contingency and it's ending on a Saturday and the lender don't work on the weekend?
Yeah, what you gonna do if the seller got a strong backup offer and you ain't got no amendment in place and they terminate?
Right.
Or your client gonna be pissed with you.
You know, definitely make sure that, I know especially in this market, we're so quick to, we want to write an offer, we want to get it out. But when you're doing that and when you're moving so fast to hurry up and get an offer out, this is when you end up with these type of pitfalls. So make sure when you're writing these contracts, you slow down, pay attention to what you're doing, and make sure you do everything you can to avoid any of these pitfalls.
Also, if it's a cash deal, guys, and you're writing a short closing, and it sounds good, 14 days, but you still need to check in with the closing attorney to make sure they can actually get the title work in 14 days.
Yeah.
Just because we wanted to close that soon does not mean that all parties are on deck. So you definitely want to reach out to whoever's closing that deal and say, is this doable for you? Sometimes they say, hey, I can get it in 7 days, you know, and if they can, then have at it. But typically you want to check with the closing attorney to make sure they can also pull off any, you know, date that is unusual, less than what we normally do in 30 days.
Not completing all of the contacts on the contract. So most real estate documents have a spot for the buyer, the seller, the agents as well. Oh, I think I missed something, y'all. Hold on. Oh, as well as the buyer's agent, seller's agents, buyer's attorney, seller's attorney, mortgage lender, and condo associations. When writing a contract, fill out all the contact information to the best of your ability. If the buyer's agent and you know the seller's agent's information, fill it in. The selling agent can then fill in any gaps in the contact information. So I think that's kind of like self-explanatory. If you know the information and you have it accessible, just go ahead and fill it in. I know sometimes I think y'all can agree too, ladies, as listing agents, the least amount of work that I got to do is possible. In a competitive environment, I might have 10, 15 contracts that I'm looking at, and I just want to breeze through them and look at the most pertinent information. So those contracts that are completed and I ain't got to go back and forth and my seller wants to accept it, I'm more willing to look at those in some cases that don't have any information missing versus those that I got to kind of go back and forth with. Anything y'all want to add, ladies?
If your contact is a person that's doing business as, that's important on how they want you to write the contracts. A lot of times it's investors, so they may not be using their personal name. You want to find out how they want to sign this contract and go under contract with their information.
That's a great point, Dedra, because a lot of times with these businesses also, like, you have to make sure that the company is the one that can sell it and make sure that that person has the right, you know, to sign the documents, because I've had that happen too, and that's a nightmare.
Yeah, I've had a guy literally tell me he was in business and this fool hadn't even registered with the Secretary of State. What the hell is going on here? I'm sorry. Keep going, girl.
We don't have bloopers.
It's live.
It's live. I'm sorry. I was so mad with him.
Next slide, Josh. Henry laughing at you, Dedra. He put this. Everybody know Dedra by now. She has no filter.
Okay, I didn't mean that, guys. Y'all don't tell on me. I'm gonna get in trouble. See, I'm gonna get kicked off. Okay. Whose turn is it? Mine? All right. Making changes to the contract once the contract executed. One of the worst real estate contract errors an agent can make is to change a contract once it's been signed by both parties. If a buyer and seller have both signed the contract, it is legally binding in its current form. Neither you as the agent nor your clients can make any amendments to that document without the proper amendment to support the changes. Be extra careful with this one. Changing a legally binding contract can lead to some serious consequences, including legal trouble or forfeiture of your real estate license. That is so true. Remember, we led with this. Integrity is on, you know, it ain't given to everybody. God, he gave us some doses of it and we think everybody got it, you know, but they don't. Some people just don't have it in them. They trying to be slick or whatever, or trying to be lazy. Sometimes it's not even someone trying to be slick. It may be that you want to cut corners, hurry up and get it done. It's too hard to get in contact with your client to get them to sign off on something. So you'll try to do it or you know, not have it done, or whatever the case is. My back has been up against the wall with clients that are not, you know, compliant, or they're difficult to get to sign things. And I just have to go through the storm. It is what it is. I can't get by it. But if everybody has signed that contract, and if you can avoid having to get to the table, if you know that's a difficult thing to get everybody to sign again, then you better just fine tooth comb it. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I agree.
And that's another reason why not leaving any blanks, you know, on the contract is important. Because like Dedra said, everyone doesn't have integrity, you know, and once a contract is executed, someone goes back and changes something on the contract because you didn't mark out or hit NA on an area. I remember when I first started in the business, I would send my contracts to my broker to look over. And I remember I was doing a $5,000 earnest money, but I just put 5000. she came back to me and said, she made me put a comma, made me put a period and a 00, because they can easily go back and turn that 5,000 into anything, right? So, and then we on the hook. You have to remember, make sure that you are not that you crossing your T's and you dotting your I's when it comes to these contracts, because everybody don't have integrity, just like Dedra said.
That's right.
I think we didn't cover the appraisal gap, guys. I think that Naysha had brought that point up earlier. We discussed that we needed to go over that with you guys when everybody's writing these gaps. These appraisal gaps that you're writing, and this language and these special stipulations, guys, when you write a special stip, it overrides the contingency. All right, so you don't have the liberty to not fall through or come through with what you promised. If that appraisal comes in higher or lower and you offered them 5K in a gap, oh, you coming off that money, or somebody gonna be in some trouble.
That's right.
I go over that with my client like we in the 3rd grade. I sit them down, I put a chart out, I get a pie chart, I get ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. Like, you ain't asking me, you ain't coming back saying I did nothing wrong, right? So I'm gonna go over it as best as I can explain it, because you gotta remember, it's not their language, it's our language. So
right.
We know it and we say it, we practice it every day. For them, it sounds like you saying something crazy. So you have, if they're aggressive and you tell them, hey, we're gonna ready to write this offer and we're gonna be very aggressive, you set the guidelines and you have to adhere to the appraisal contingencies, or your client is losing that earnest money. It is a huge risk and you got to tell them it's a risk.
You cannot go back and decide that because you put a 14-day appraisal contingency on the contract, but then you put an appraisal gap of $5,000 or $10,000, and the appraisal came back in 7 days, and your client no longer wants to pay that $10,000 over the appraisal value, and now your client want to terminate the contract and get their earnest money because they're within the appraisal contingency days of 14. No, you can't do that. They losing. And they're going to be upset with you if you did not properly advise them. So make sure you let them know, we can do this appraisal gap, but let me help you understand what's going to happen if we do.
Great point. Great point. All right, guys. Well, that concludes the information that we wanted to share with you all regarding contract pitfalls. What questions do you have for us? Or any feedback? Feel free to unmute yourself or put your question in the chat.
Hey everybody, this is Henry. I got a quick question.
Hey, Henry, what's up? Fire away.
So I did an amendment to address concerns with the property, and I've done this a few times, but I've gotten this question just once. So I wanted to ask you all. There's a section that says, now therefore, for and in consideration of the sum of $10 and other good and valuable consideration, et cetera, et cetera. What is that $10 for and who pays it? Because that's what my client asked me and I really could not answer him.
I'm sorry, I missed the question. Can you ask the question again?
Yes, on the amendment to address concerns, I guess this is when you write the amendment that you want the seller to fix issues with the property before closing. There's a section that says, now therefore, for and in consideration of the sum of $10 and other good and valuable consideration, the receipt and sufficiency of which is hereby acknowledged, the parties hereto agree to modify and amend the agreement to address the following concerns existing with the property and for such other purposes as are set forth below. So his question to me was, what is the $10 for and who pays it?
I've never paid 10 or no one had to pay 10, but I think that's probably a closing attorney question
Mhm.
because I don't know what the hell I mean, why
And
would he
that's what I
put that
told
out?
him. I had, yeah.
$10.
Yeah, it's on there. I seen it. But who
Yeah.
picked that out? Tell him he ain't got to pay it. It's for the other sellers. The sellers has to pay something, the sum of something. It had to be a sum of something. I don't know.
I appreciate it, because that's what I told him. I said, I don't know, but you buying, you know, a whole house. I don't think $10 should be a problem if, you know.
You
but
know,
that was
some
just-
people nitpick though. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
a good question, and maybe we should ask the closing attorney to hear ye, and whatever that's some, and then therefore, hence, but this or that, therefore, I don't know. We're not doing it, okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well, listen, we'll be having Kimbrough on, so.
And you saved that question for her. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Come on.
I knew it wasn't gonna be a dull moment if we had Dedra here. Boy, I tell you. All right, D. D has a question. Go ahead, D.
Never mind. I remember you guys said that it was going to be available on the YouTube channel, so I don't have a question anymore.
You sure?
Oh, you saying you missed it, most of the segment?
No, I was just wondering if it would have been available so I could go back to it, but I remember you said that it is on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
it is.
Yeah, yeah. Or anytime anybody have any questions about anything that we covered, you know, you can always email us too directly. And also go to your team lead. They will have more of an answer too if you need it.
Yep. And then you also got Slack, you know, post your question in there. If you need some help with something, we can respond there and, you know, definitely get your question answered. What else? That's it, guys?
No, I have a question. Well, it is a question, but I'm not sure. It's Talia again. Okay, so this new contract that me and Alessio just got, we've been working with this lady for a while, and finally house came back. They accepted the offer. Great, good. We're setting up the inspection. Now the house is out in the mountains, so of course we need like radon, all this other kind of stuff, septic tanks, blah 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 blah. Her lender tells her that because she's FHA, the appraiser will be doing a full inspection and that she doesn't need an inspection. Okay, so that was my face. You see that face you're making, Nicole? That was my face. I've never heard of that. And as many times as Naysha has beaten it into us about never doing nothing without no inspection, I was just like, I'll ask somebody, but I've never heard of an appraiser going into a crawl space or, you know, checking out the septic tank or anything like that. I've never heard of it.
They do. Appraisers do. Their job is to appraise that property and everything that's on it and make sure it's functional. All right. So they do. However, in some cases, we just have a private person do, you know, an inspection, and which gives us the immediate stuff that we may not necessarily come up and appraise value, but needs to be addressed in repair, right? But appraisers do go up in the attic, in the basement. That's their job. They got to appraise it, and they can't appraise it unless they're doing that and making sure everything is functional. Because you got to remember, they're the ones that's okaying the money coming back to this client. You know, so they've got to do their due diligence just as a inspector. Now, I'll tell you one thing, and I know it to be true. I just got a deal with a 203K loan, and we were having an inspector come out, and that's the same thing the lender told us, is that the FHA inspector is the guy that comes out and inspect the property, because FHA has guidelines that have to be met in order for us to pull this deal off with a 203K. So I'm not necessarily saying a regular deal that we're doing in our homes and we find an inspector to come out. Just know that the appraiser is doing, and whatever kind of property this is, they do a full inspection too as well.
Okay. So an FHA appraiser, we can feel comfortable with them doing. My whole thing
No.
was that might
No,
be true.
no. Don't rely on it because they're only
Okay.
looking for appraised value.
Right.
Even though they're telling you that is the case, you go ahead and get your own inspector so that person can tell you. Now, this person happened to be a FHA inspector. He wasn't he not an appraiser, but an inspector. So that's the type of job that he does, is to
Oh,
give
that's what
what
you
is
meant.
necessary for this type of loan. But I'm saying to you, regardless of what they're saying, yeah, lady, cool. I hear what you're saying, but you tip over to your client and say, let me tell you something. You need a place, you need somebody to come in here on our end that's not tied to anything and tell us what needs to be done with this property, if there's any. I know
Okay,
it's gonna
that's what
be
I
expensive.
explained to her. It is
Mhm.
because she's paying like almost $850 for the appraiser and then another $720 for the inspection because they're going to do the septic, the radon, all the kind of stuff because the house is really old. But I just told her that I was going to ask you, more than likely you, Dedra, because I'll call you at the drop of a hat. But I was going to ask just to see, but I told her that she needed to get her own inspection just on timing, because if we have a certain amount of due diligence, we can have them out here sooner, and I don't know when the appraiser's coming out.
There you go. Right. You're on the money. Even
And I'll
though
tell you
you
something. Go ahead, Deidre.
even though you are it's expensive. And what I tell people all the time, yeah, it costs a lot to eat right, but it costs a whole lot more if you're in hospital. So it costs a lot for you to do these deals here, 700, 800, whatever that is. But it, in lieu of, we're not trying to make you be out, hundreds of thousands of dollars later. So it's worth the due diligence that we're going to take here. I'd rather you spend this money up front than to get into something and be unhappy on the back end.
Yep,
Okay.
because that inspector, if that inspector didn't point something out, guess what? And they covered that area, that buyer, that new homeowner, they can hold them responsible. That appraiser is not doing an in-depth analysis the same as an inspector is going to. So that's the best $700 that your client is ever going to spend. And I tell them that all the time. That money that you're spending for that inspection, that's the best money that you can spend because it's going to give you a peace of mind. That appraiser is not certified the same as that inspector. And the things that they're looking for is going to be totally different.
And they're never going to, it's only one time that I've ever had a situation. There's only one situation that comes up that I have had an appraiser come back and say, these things need to be fixed in order to have this value. And that's only with VA.
Or FHA, they've done that.
No, I've never had it with FHA, but with VA, yes, even with the VA loan, you need to have your inspector still inspect the house, and then the appraiser, the VA appraiser / inspector, because they 2-in-1, is going to go and do it for the for the loan itself. But I've never had an appraiser come back and say, okay, well, this need to be fixed, this need to be fixed, you need to put gutters on here in order for you to get this value. The only time I've ever had that happen is when it's a VA loan.
I've had it on the FHA side, but the repairs that the FHA appraiser required and then the repairs that the inspector recommended, totally different.
We're different.
Totally different. Yep. All right. Any other questions, guys? You're welcome. Good question, though. Anything else y'all want to talk about?
Anything exciting came up? Anybody want to share with the group that we need to discuss? Y'all don't be trying to be quiet now and then they get on Slack and be like, boom, boom, bing, 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 and be blowing up my thing. I can't even eat my dinner in peace. Like, bing, bing, bing. Do anybody know? Bing, 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 bing. I turn it off. What's good?
Boy, I tell you.
Her own show.
Right.
She do. She really do.
She really does, Harry. She needs her own show, man. I tell you.
I don't know what's wrong with me, y'all. I tried. I told myself be on my best behavior before I got on here, and it went out the door in 10 minutes.
That's okay, Dedra. We love you. We love you.
love
We
you,
all know it's
Dedra.
from the heart.
I love y'all back.
Oh, man, I needed that laugh. All right, guys. Well, Dedra, Naysha, anything else y'all want to add?
No,
Nope,
I think I
that's it.
added enough.
All right, y'all. Well, make sure you subscribe to TCRG Closing the Gap on YouTube. It's really, really great, especially if you're struggling in a certain area. If you have questions, this is an opportunity for you to go back. You can watch it at your own pace, take your notes, and get as much information as you need. And with
Yes.
that being said, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
In 2
2
weeks.
weeks. Hey, hey, hey.
Bye,
y'all.
Y'all be safe. Go out and sell.
Bye, y'all.
Stop laughing.